Hello there, YouTube and YouTubers. I'm so happy to be talking to you today about one of my favorite topics ever, commons in Magic the Gathering. Today we're looking at the top 5 white commons in Kaldheim. These are the commons you definitely want to put in your sealed deck, put in your draft deck. These are, I think, the 5 cards that will make your deck a lot better in draft and sealed. But before we do that, before we talk about our 5 commons, we first have to take a look at the grading scale we're using for our commons. We'll be putting a number on all of these commons. As you can see, these numbers go from 0 to 100. We've already put in a few categories for you there. 0 to 35 are older cards we think would probably be better in your sideboard. You may maybe even be better off playing one more land than you normally would expect to do. Then we have 35 to 60. We have commons you will find in any set. Even the somewhat weak uncommons will often be in this category. And then past that is all the juicy stuff, all the good stuff. The 60 plus, 60 to 80, it's the good commons, the very best commons, and actually pretty reasonable uncommons as well. At 80 to 90, we have very strong uncommons, say uncommons which you would not expect to see past like second or third pick. And some of the better rares also are in this category. And then at 90 to 100 are the cards which should make you win if they resolve. So that's the grading scale we're using today. Hopefully many of our best commons will be in the 60 plus category, maybe even close to 80, but I guess we'll see. First up, number 5. Our number 5 is taken up by this wonderful card, the Master Skald. It's a card that, as you can see right there, is more of a control card than it is an aggro card. But this card is showing its mastery over this set. But when you are a master of the set, I think that this card, when you apply it in your deck well, is one of the best commons you can find in any color actually. But you really do need to go for its synergy. You can see a few of the combo cards I think are very good with this card at the top right there. So, of course, if you play the Master Skald, you get to return a artifact or an enchantment to your hands. The Bloodline Pretender, of course, being a very, fairly high impact card, even later in the game. And being able to return it from your graveyard with the Master Skald is quite beneficial, because then in that case, especially in the very late game, you'll be able to get 2 creatures for the cost of 1 card. But of course also the enchantment removal we can see in the form of the Wither Crown, a card which quite often I would say is not good in your deck. It's a card by itself which it reads as if it would be a good card, but it usually doesn't function all that well. But if you're able to first, early in the game, put it on a very cheap creature on your opponent's side, disabling that creature that way, and then inciting your opponent to say, okay, I'll just sacrifice it, no problem. Later on in the game, the Master Skald will make it so that even one of their, say, rares or one of their more impactful high-cost cards will be disabled by the Wither Crown again. So I think that's one of the ways of making the Master Skald very good. Ascent of the Worthy especially can be a quite 1-2 punch. You could put the Ascent of the Worthy on the... You could first play a Master Skald, then put the Ascent of the Worthy on it the turn thereafter. If your opponent should decide to attack you, they will very likely get to kill your Master Skald, putting it in the graveyard, but with the third part of the saga, you will get to return the Master Skald from your graveyard to the battlefield with flying, which means you have a 5-mana 4/4 flying, which already made sure that you didn't lose the game because it was absorbing all the damage you were taking when you turned before that. And you even get to return the Ascent of the Worthy to your hand again, in which case you are able to either use it again on the Master Skald, keeping you alive even longer if you're still losing, or if your 4/4 flying is good enough to win the game, you could use it on, say, a creature you can dispose of. So it's very good aggressively and defensively. Number 4. At number 4 we find the Bounding Goal, a card which, before the set was released, I expected to be the best white common. It turned out to not be that way. There are apparently, as the draft has dictated, better white commons, which is a very good sign for the draft format actually. But the Bounding Goal is still a very, very good card. It works in any deck you could be playing. whether that is aggro or control or a bit of both or synergy based, it always does its job. If you read the card, you will see that you have to enchant a permanent, and that permanent can't attack, block, or crew vehicles. And its activated abilities can't be activated unless they're mana abilities. This means that just about any card in the game can be disabled by the Bounding Gold. That means equipment can be disabled, vehicles can be disabled, creatures can be disabled, of course, but also you can disable planeswalkers with this card. So it's very multifunctional, it's very all-round and all-encompassing in what it can attack. I do think that this card in best of 3, as I said on the last point, is slightly weaker than it is in best of 1. Reason being that if you're showing Bounding Gold as one of your premier removal ways, and your opponent has a rare or a mythic rare they really want to protect, there's a very good chance that they're going to be siding in some enchantment removal or artifact removal, and those cards are quite good in the set. So there's a good chance that when you're playing the Bounding Gold, or multiple of them, your opponent will bring in answers to them. Let's look at number 3. Man, the Basque Shieldmate. Definitely a card that surprised me. I mean, it's just a 2-mana 2/1. What could be so special about it? Okay, it leaves behind a creature when it dies, but why is this so good in this set? Well, of course, this card is a lot better in aggro than it is in control. But as you can see by the points I've given it, there are quite a few points this card can make by having good synergy with your other parts of your deck. So what can you synergize it with? Well, mostly this card really likes to wear equipment. So there's the Tormentor's Helm we're seeing over there, and the Rune Crown also, but even a Goldvein pick on this card, or the Wings of the Raven. All cards which can be used very well in combination with this card. I think it's great. If you do get the synergy going, it goes from a fine card at the higher end of commons to a great card. Also, one of the interesting things about the Basque Shieldmate is that it's probably the best common aggro drop in the set at 2 mana. The Basque Shieldmate works well in a black-white deck, which is centered around playing 2 spells in one turn. The Way Down, of course, is another card in the 2-spell deck, which works quite well. And also Way Down is a card which, well, I guess many people have Way Down in their tier lists of drafting. I agree, it's not normally the best card ever, but if you make it happen with, say, cards like Basque Shieldmate, or if you're trying to double spell, the Basque Shieldmate and the Way Down are a very nice combination. The Valor of the Worthy is there mostly because it works in both sides of why Basque Shieldmate is good. So that's, on the one hand, Basque Shieldmate is good because if it should die, it still leaves behind the body. Well, Valor of the Worthy, same way. If your creature should die, you still get to leave behind the body. And Basque Shieldmate really likes to wear equipment. So in both sides of the Valor of the Worthy, I think the Basque Shieldmate really likes to be combined with the card. Maja, Breath of Guard Protector, we have there. Green-white, normally not that great a deck in the set, but if you can combine it with cards like these, which make multiple creatures, and its own ability, you can make quite a potent deck. As we go quickly on to number 2, getting at the top. Man, the Battlefield Raptor. Just like the card we just looked at, the Basque Shieldmate. It really is an aggressive card, isn't it? I mean, 1 mana, 1/2 flying first strike. I don't think we would have expected to see this a few years back. I remember when Flying Man was reintroduced in Time Spiral, I really thought, wow, that's an aggressive card. 1 mana, 1/1 flying. That does a lot of damage over the course of a game. Well, of course, since then we've seen Lantern Kami and many other 1/1 flyings for 1. And over the recent years, I think the 1-drops have gotten a lot better, and this is one of the prime examples of it. It having 1 more toughness and 4 strike, of course, are great additions, but even if it were just a 1 mana 1/1 flying, I think this card would have been quite good in the set. So where do I need to use this card in my deck? Well, like these numbers say, it really likes to go into an aggro deck. If you don't put it in an aggro deck, but in a control deck, it immediately goes from quite a good card to fairly mediocre. But in an aggro deck, it can become quite strong. Just like the Basque Shieldmate, it does like to be combined with other cards that increase its power though. So if you play Equipment or Aura or this Guardian Gladewalker we have in the middle here, it goes from well, it does quite a few of chipping damages over the course of a game too. Wow, this is starting to do real damage. A flying creature dealing 2 instead of 1 damage a turn is quite a big difference, so try to find ways to boost its power in some way. And of course, it being 1 mana and a very good card enables you to play a double spell deck. That's why the Valkyrie Berserker has been put up here. So, Battlefield Raptor, very good card, likes to synergize with other cards, and it can synergize in multiple ways. Double spelling, power boosting, equipment wearing, aura wearing. It's a good card. Play it. Our number 1 card of the set. Oh my gosh, number 1 common. Oh yeah, at number 1 we have a common angel. I think many of you would have expected the Stalwart Valkyrie to be somewhere in the top 5, at least if you've drafted quite a bit of the set. I think this card works so well and so often, it's at uncommon level quality. So, is this the strongest card you will ever draft in the set? No, definitely not, but this card will always make your deck if you're playing white. Whether you're playing aggro, or whether you're playing control, whether you go for its synergies, or whether you just ignore that completely and just play it, it's always going to be good. So that's why I put it at the number 1 spot. It can always be played. So it says there, right? The synergy is quite weak. I really stand by that. I don't think you need to work that hard. I think you shouldn't actually work hard to make this card work. Why? Well, just like we said at the Master's Cult, creatures will find their way to your graveyard anyway. So at some point in the game, you will be able to cast this for 2 mana, if you want to. But if you just cast it for 4 mana as a 3/2 flying, that's still good enough. It having the ability to be cast for 2 mana means that double spelling with this card in your deck is possible. So that's why we put cards like the Infernal Bat over there. Now, of course, we've also got other cards which say you can put your creatures in your graveyard, or you don't mind that much if creatures end up in your graveyard through, say, the Valor of the Worthy. You don't really care if your creature dies, or Come as Faithful, same idea. It's very easy to get multiple creatures in your graveyard that way. Immer's Raider, you could discard a creature card if you were in need of lands. But all in all, the best part about this Stalwart Valkyrie is that no matter what you do, it's a 4 mana 3/2 flying or better. And that means it just works. Anyway, thank you all for taking a look at the top 5 commons together with me in white. Soon we're going to be doing all the other colors and all the other commons in those colors, of course, as well, and maybe even other top 5 sets we're going to be taking a look at. But for now, thank you for watching. Hope you liked it. If you do, give us a thumb up, and yeah, subscribe if you want to see more videos about Magic the Gathering. See you soon.